Welcome back to our channel US Coins World. Today, we're diving into the world of rare 5-cent coins. Some of these could be worth a small fortune. If you've got Jefferson nickels lying around, you won't want to miss this. Let's find out if you're sitting on hidden treasure. So let's continue our today's video on Top 1. Today we've got something truly fascinating for you, a story buried in metal, a hidden treasure that might be sitting quietly in your pocket change or stashed away in an old coin jar. We're talking about the United States 5-cent coin from the year 1972. Yes, the humble nickel. But don't be fooled by its ordinary appearance, because this coin, under the right circumstances, could be worth far more than 5 cents. In fact, it could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. So buckle up, because we're diving deep into a coin with secrets, value, and rare features that have captured the attention of collectors around the world. Let's start with the basics. The 1972 5-cent coin, better known as the Jefferson nickel, features the iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front, designed by Felix Schlag. Flip it over and you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's historic Virginia home, engraved in fine detail. On the surface, it seems like a coin you've seen 1,000 times. Millions were made. So, what makes this coin special? The answer lies in a powerful combination: rarity, condition, and, most importantly, errors. In 1972, the United States Mint produced these nickels at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. While most coins came out of the presses looking just fine, a small number were minted with mistakes, mint errors, that slipped past the eyes of inspectors. And those mistakes turned these ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures. Now let's talk about these errors, because this is where the magic happens. Point 1. Of the most valuable and rarest error types found in 1972 nickels is the double die error. This happens when the coin's design is struck twice, but slightly misaligned, causing doubling in the text or design. The result? Words like, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," may appear blurry or shadowed. These are highly sought after by collectors because each double die coin is unique, and extremely hard to find. Another rare and expensive error to look out for is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned during minting, resulting in a lopsided appearance. Depending on how off-center the strike is, and if the date is still fully visible, these errors can fetch a hefty price. Then there's the clipped planchet error, where a piece of the coin's edge is literally missing due to a mistake during cutting. It sounds like a flaw, but collectors see it as gold, figuratively speaking. The more dramatic and well-preserved the error, the more collectors are willing to pay, and if you're lucky enough to find a 1972 nickel struck on the wrong planchet, meaning it was minted on a blank meant for another coin like a penny or a dime, you're really in rare territory. These wrong planchet coins are among the most desirable because they're nearly one of a kind. Now here's what collectors love to hear: condition matters. A 1972 nickel that's been circulating for decades, rubbing shoulders with keys and cash, may not be worth much. But a coin that's been preserved in mint state, that means sharp detail, no scratches, and a beautiful luster, can be dramatically more valuable. So imagine this: a 1972 Jefferson nickel, with a dramatic double die error, in near-perfect condition, certified by a grading service. That, my friends, is where the value shoots up, not by a few dollars, not even a few hundred, but something far more impressive. Are you ready for it? One of these rare 1972 nickels has been known to sell for an astonishing $78,000. Yes, you heard that right. Not 78 cents. Not $78. 78,000 US dollars, and now the question becomes, do you have one? Take a look through your old coin collections, dig through that coin jar that's been sitting around for years, and inspect your nickels closely. Who knows? That unassuming 5-cent piece could be hiding an error worth a small fortune. Top 2. We're diving into a piece of American history that may look like just another nickel, but trust me, it's anything but ordinary. If you've got an old jar of coins lying around, you might want to check it right after watching this video, because hidden among your change could be a 1943 nickel worth a small fortune. Yes, we're talking about the United States 5-cent coin from the year 1943. It's small, it's silver in color, but it holds a story from the heart of wartime America, and for the right version of this coin, collectors today are willing to pay thousands. So stay tuned, because you won't believe how valuable this little piece of metal can be. Let's rewind time to 1943. America was in the thick of World War II. Resources were scarce, industries were shifting to support the war effort, and the U.S. Mint had to make some serious changes to coin production. One of those changes involved the nickel. Formerly, nickels were made of 75% copper and 25% nickel. But during the war, nickel was a valuable metal needed for military equipment. To save that crucial material, the Mint made a major switch in 1942 and continued into 1943. Instead of using nickel, they began producing what are known today as war nickels, made from a blend of 56% copper, 35% silver, and 9% manganese. Yes, you heard that right, silver nickels. The 1943 5-cent coin is one of the few nickels in U.S. history that actually contains real silver. That already gives it a unique edge in the eyes of collectors. But there's more. Here's what really gets the collectors excited. The 1943 nickels were struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. You can spot the mint mark right above Monticello on the reverse side. It will say either P, D, or S. That P mark, for Philadelphia, was actually used on a U.S. coin for the very first time in history on the war nickels. That alone makes it an important piece for American numismatic history, but wait, it gets even better. While millions of 1943 nickels were made, only a tiny number were struck with errors. And those rare error coins? They're the real treasures. Some 1943 nickels have been discovered with double dies, especially on the words Monticello and 5 cents. This means during minting, the design was accidentally impressed twice, but just slightly off-center. It creates a shadow-like doubling effect that you can spot with a magnifying glass. If you have one of these coins with clear doubling, you're looking at a significantly more valuable piece. Another rare error comes from coins that were accidentally struck on the wrong metal planchet, such as a copper-nickel blank instead of the wartime silver alloy. These wrong planchet errors are extremely rare, and when authenticated, they can skyrocket in value, and then, of course, condition is everything. A coin that's been circulating for decades with scratches, dings, and discoloration won't command the same attention as one that's been carefully preserved in mint state. Coins graded MS-65 or higher by professional services like PCGS or NGC are the cream of the crop. If your 1943 nickel is in top-notch condition, especially with an error or from a rare mint variety, you could be looking at a serious payday. So what's the highest value one of these nickels has ever reached? Well, get ready for this. A rare 1943 5-cent coin, featuring a dramatic error and preserved in near-perfect condition, has sold for an incredible amount. We're talking about a jaw-dropping, wallet-melting, life-changing $76,000, yes, you heard that right. Not $76. Not $7,000. But $76,000 United States dollars for a single 1943 nickel. That's the power of rarity, history, and error in the world of coin collecting. So, before you toss that old nickel aside or overlook the one stuck in a drawer, take a second look. That plain-looking coin could be hiding something extraordinary. Grab a magnifying glass, check the mint mark, inspect the lettering, and look closely, because that tiny detail might just make your nickel worth more than a brand new car. Top 3. We're going to talk about a coin that might seem like just another old nickel at first glance, but under the right conditions, it can be worth far more than you'd ever expect. Yes, we're talking about the United States 5-cent coin from the year 1985. Now, 1985 may not feel like it was all that long ago, though believe it or not, it's been nearly 4 decades since this little coin first entered circulation. And while millions were minted that year, only a few of them hold the kind of secrets that could turn a simple pocket find into a jaw-dropping payday. Let's start by setting the scene. In 1985, the United States Mint produced Jefferson nickels at 2 major facilities, Philadelphia and Denver. You can identify them by the small mint mark next to Thomas Jefferson's portrait on the obverse of the coin, either a P for Philadelphia or a D for Denver. Now, most of these coins went into everyday circulation. They passed through thousands of hands, sat in vending machines, got lost in couch cushions, you name it. And for the most part, they stayed exactly what they were intended to be, 5 cents, but here's the twist that coin collectors know all too well: not all coins are created equal. Some were minted with errors, some were struck on the wrong materials, and some were preserved so well that they're now considered rare pieces of numismatic history. One of the most talked about features among collectors is the off-center strike error. This happens when the coin isn't aligned properly in the press, causing the design to appear shifted or partially missing. The more dramatic the off-center strike, and the more complete the date and mint mark still are, the higher the value can climb. Another extremely collectible error is the double die. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly between impressions, creating a visible doubling effect in the lettering or design. For 1985 nickels, doubling has been spotted on the words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and even in the digits of the date. These are not only fascinating to look at, but they're also highly prized because each double die is essentially unique. There's also the very rare and incredibly valuable wrong planchet error, where a nickel was mistakenly struck on a blank meant for a different denomination, like a penny or even a foreign coin. These wrong metal errors are extremely scarce, and if verified by professional grading services, they can skyrocket in value. But even without errors, a 1985 nickel in mint state condition, we're talking flawless surfaces, no scratches, no signs of wear, can bring in serious attention from collectors. Coins graded MS-65 or higher are much harder to come by, simply because most 1985 nickels were heavily circulated. And as time goes on, pristine examples become rarer and more valuable. Now, you may be wondering, how much could a single 1985 nickel actually be worth? We're not talking about a couple of dollars here. Not even a few hundred. There's one particular 1985 5-cent coin, featuring a rare mint error, preserved in exceptional condition, that made headlines in the collector world. It was authenticated, graded, and auctioned to a collector who knew exactly what it was worth, and that coin sold for an eye-widening total of $73,000. That's right. Not 73 cents. Not $73. 73,000 US dollars for one 5-cent coin. So, what does this mean for you? Well, the next time you're sifting through your change, take a closer look. Check the date. Look at the mint mark. Inspect the lettering. You never know what kind of treasure might be hiding in plain sight. It could be sitting in your wallet right now, quietly waiting to change your life. Top 4. We're going to uncover why the 1964 nickel could be hiding a secret, and how a single one of these coins sold for an unbelievable amount, $70,000. Let's rewind to 1964. The United States Mint was working overtime, pumping out nickels like never before. Why? Because the country was in the middle of a coin shortage. The economy was booming, vending machines were everywhere, and coins were disappearing from circulation faster than the mint could replace them. So to meet the demand, over 1,001,964 nickels were minted between the Philadelphia and Denver facilities. That's right, over 1 billion. And that makes it sound like these coins should be worthless in the collector world. But here's where the story gets interesting: not all 1964 nickels are created equal. While the vast majority were ordinary coins meant for daily use, a few were struck with mistakes, errors, that turned them into rare treasures. These mint errors are what collectors dream about. And when one of these flawed coins is discovered in mint state or uncirculated condition, it becomes a powerful combination of rarity, history, and value. So what kinds of errors should you look for in a 1964 nickel? One of the most valuable errors is the double die. This happens when the die, the tool used to stamp the coin, shifts slightly between strikes. On a 1964 nickel, this can cause the words, "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or even the date itself to appear with a slight shadow or doubling effect. These are incredibly popular with collectors because they're visible without any fancy equipment, just a magnifying glass and a sharp eye. Another rare and fascinating error is the off-center strike. In this case, the coin wasn't properly aligned during minting, resulting in a coin where the design is visibly pushed to one side. The more off-center it is, while still showing the full date and mint mark, the more valuable it becomes. And then there's the holy grail of 1964 nickels, the ones that were mistakenly struck on the wrong metal planchet. This means that instead of the standard copper-nickel blend, a 1964 nickel may have been struck on a blank intended for a different coin, like a penny or even a foreign coin. These are incredibly rare and must be authenticated by a professional grading service, but if you ever come across one, you're holding a treasure. Even without errors, condition plays a huge role. A 1964 nickel that has never been circulated, what collectors call mint state, with a bright luster, no scratches, and perfect details, can be worth much more than pocket change. Collectors love coins that look like they just came from the mint yesterday. Now here's where things really get exciting. Among the sea of 1964 nickels, one specific coin was discovered with a stunning combination of features: a rare mint error, flawless condition, and professional grading to back it up. This coin went up for auction, and it didn't just sell for a few hundred or even a few thousand. That single 1964 5-cent coin sold for an incredible $70,000. Yes, you heard that right. 70,000 United States dollars for a 5-cent piece. So what's the takeaway here? It's simple: don't overlook the ordinary. That 1964 nickel rattling around in your junk drawer might just be extraordinary. Look closely, examine the details, and never underestimate what you might find in your own collection. The next great discovery could be sitting quietly in your pocket change. Top 5. We're diving into the world of nickels, but not just any nickel. We're going to explore the surprising story behind the 1990 United States 5-cent coin and how this seemingly ordinary piece of change could turn into an extraordinary payday. That's right, this video is all about how a simple 1990 Jefferson nickel could be worth far more than its face value. And if you stick around until the end, you'll find out just how much one of these rare coins recently sold for. Spoiler alert, it's more than enough to buy a luxury car. Now, let's talk about the coin itself. The 1990 Jefferson nickel features a familiar design. On the front, the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, and on the reverse, his historic home, Monticello. These designs have been around for decades, but what makes the 1990 edition stand out isn't the artwork. It's the possibility that your 1990 nickel might have something wrong with it, and in the world of coin collecting, that can be very, very right. In 1990, the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins at two main locations, Philadelphia and Denver. You can tell which mint your coin came from by checking the small letter near Jefferson's shoulder, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver. Most of the nickels from this year went straight into circulation and spent their lives bouncing between wallets, vending machines, and parking meters. But a small number were struck with errors, mistakes that occurred during the minting process, and those errors are what collectors are after. So, what kinds of errors can make your 1990 nickel valuable? One of the most collectible types is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin isn't properly aligned inside the press, causing part of the design to be missing or pushed off to one side. A perfectly dramatic off-center strike with a visible date can be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Then there's the double die error. This occurs when the coin design is stamped more than once, slightly out of place, creating a shadow-like doubling effect. This is especially noticeable on the date or on the words like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." If you find doubling on a 1990 nickel, especially a well-defined one, you might be holding something truly special. Another extremely rare type is the wrong planchet error. Imagine a nickel being mistakenly struck on a blank meant for a penny, dime, or even a foreign coin. These wrong metal nickels are very hard to find and extremely valuable when confirmed by professional grading services. And if yours has both a wrong planchet and a visible error like an off-center strike, you've just entered a whole new level of rarity. And here's something that collectors care deeply about: condition. A coin in mint state, meaning it looks brand new with no signs of wear, is much more valuable than one that's been through decades of circulation. If you have a 1990 nickel that has never been used and it features a rare error, you could be sitting on a coin that's worth far more than you imagine. Now, let's get to the moment you've been waiting for. There was one 1995-cent coin that stunned the coin collecting community. It wasn't just in exceptional condition, it had a rare error, was professionally graded, and became the center of a bidding war at auction. When the final gavel dropped, this little nickel didn't sell for 5 cents, or even a few $100s. It sold for an eye-popping $67,000. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that started out as spare change ended up bringing in 67,000 United States dollars. So the question is, do you have one? Go check those old jars of coins, dig through your piggy banks, and inspect any 1990 nickels you come across. Look closely at the lettering, the date, the alignment. Even a small error can turn an ordinary coin into a prized collectible. And if you're lucky enough to find one with a major flaw in top condition, you might just have a miniature treasure in the palm of your hand. Thanks for watching and joining us on another journey into the world of coins, history, and hidden value. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next rare coin that could be hiding right in your pocket. Until next time, keep your eyes open, keep collecting, and remember, sometimes the smallest things can hold the biggest surprises. Especially when they're worth $67,000.